Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. When you're having some challenges, maybe you've got an ailment, you're sick, you're not feeling well, what usually takes place? You go to the doctor writes you a prescription, you get it filled, you take it, and it takes care of the symptoms, and you're off and running. Is that the best way to deal with that situation? Have you ever considered herbal remedies? Now, for some, that's a foreign term. You probably have heard it, but not really sure what it is. But consider this. What we're about to talk about is what medicine was many, many years ago. This is how they healed from these remedies, from the earth. These concoctions that are mixed up. Well, I've got a certified clinical herbalist, and we're going to get a lot of insight. I'm a big believer in what she does. Forest and Hearth is her practice, located in Florida. Ruthie Glass is on the program. Hey, Ruthie, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so gratified that you are here, and I wish I knew you long ago, but fortunately, I did find somebody that does herbals, and it has changed my life and has gotten me through some challenges. And if it's okay with you, can I, in 20 seconds, share it just to illustrate how wonderful and important it is?
Oh, please do. Yes, I'd love to hear it.
It was a little more than a year ago. I was feeling some stomach issues. I don't know what it was. It just, and I knew why it was happening. Stress. And I had an ulcer early around 2017, 2016. So I'm thinking, ulcer's back. Maybe that's it. Again, I knew it was stress, had a lot of stuff going on. I was at the point of driving myself to the hospital. It got that bad. Like I this doesn't feel right. It's uncomfortable. I'm worried. So I connect with an herbalist. She mixes me up a concoction of marshmallow root, cat's claw, and catnip. What is that? And she says, drink aloe vera with pulp. And I did, and not exaggerating, within 2 days, I was fine. I felt great. As a matter of fact, that dropper bottle that she had given me, I've since passed it on to others to help them with stomach issues. So game changer for me, confirmation that this stuff really does work. But hey, no surprise to people like you. Herbals have been around for centuries. What I'm sharing with you, is that commonly what you hear from the people that you work with?
Oh, yeah. We have had, just in the 10 years that I've been at the clinic that I practice out of, like countless success stories and digestion is actually one of the biggest things that I see, because it's, stress related, life can be, really hard. And so, one of the first things to go is the digestion.
Yeah. And as I learned, everything centers in your stomach. They say it's like the second brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it really is connected to the whole body energetically. It's really interesting.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the word energetically, because maybe we can get to there as we move forward. But that concoction that I had, marshmallow root, cat's claw, and catnip, does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it really does. So like marshmallow root is, it's a herb that's been around for a long time, and it's, how it works in the body is when there's things that are have a hot, dry presentation, the marshmallow root will be cooling and moistening. So it kind of soothes any irritated, inflamed tissues. And then it has nourishing qualities for tissues that need those nutrients for getting back into balance.
The more and more I learn about herbals, the more it just reminds me of Chinese medicine. Is it pretty much that?
Yeah, so if you go back in time, 2,000 years, there was, herbal medicine happening all around the world. And the cool thing was the people would get together and they would talk about hey, I'm doing this, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm doing that. And so they would actually gather and discuss some of their ideas of what they had going on in their own regions, which is really cool to me to think about, because nowadays we have things called herbal conferences where we kind of do the same thing. But they were doing that like 2,000 years ago. But regionally, there were very similar practices going on. So in Asia, there was traditional Chinese medicine. In India, there was Ayurvedic, which is still going on in both areas.
Yep.
And then in ancient Persia, you had, the name, Unani Tibbs, I believe, was in Persia, but I could be getting that wrong. And then North Africa had a similar system than the Greek system, which is the humoral system. And so the Greek system ended up being like the foundation to modern Western herbalism with hot, cold, wet, dry, deficiency, excess, tense, lax, like tissue states. And so that is like the foundation of, for some herbalists anyway, of how to decide which herbs go with which person.
What got you interested? And I want to go deeper into some of the different types of herbs and what they can do to support us. What got you into all of this, Ruthie?
Well, I did not grow up like this at all. I grew up where, my mom and my grandma, they went to the pharmacy, went to the doctor, and that was just the norm. And I found like it wasn't really that helpful from my perspective anyway, even as a kid, like it just didn't really seem to be that effective. The doctors, wouldn't really listen. And but I was just a kid, what did I know? But as I got older, I was always interested in different things, but what ended up happening was I was going to become a mother for the first time, and I realized that I wanted something better for my son, more than pharmaceuticals, more than the mainstream, because it just seemed to me like it wasn't, addressing what needed to be addressed. It was more like putting Band-Aids on. And so I wanted my son to have a chance to, not need pharmaceuticals. And, that's really, he has definitely had pharmaceuticals in his life, but in the beginning I was like, no, I want to see if I can do it without it. And, but, antibiotics do, come in, they are appropriate at certain times, sometimes you just have to do it, emergency situations and so on. And so when he was during labor, I used, my gateway was essential oils. So I wanted to experience labor without all the medication. And that was really what got me into the herbal realm, because after that I was like, wow, it really worked. And after that, I just looked into homeopathic because it was safe. I didn't know anything, and I wanted something that I knew I wouldn't cause any harm to him. And from there, I was like, oh, wait, these come from actual plants. Let me study the plants that these homeopathic remedies are coming from. So then I started studying the plants, and soon I was hooked, and my mother-in-law was, seeing my interest. And so she actually took me to my first herbal conference in 2010. So I'd been studying for 10 years at that point. And so she brought me to an herbal conference where I was able to learn from live people and see, wow, this is a real community. This is a thing. And I'm not alone. There's other people that like doing this too. And it really opened up the world for me into being an herbalist.
Isn't it amazing that everything we're talking about, the herbals, that was medicine back in the day? In fact, that's where medicine came from,
Right.
Plants.
Yeah.
People don't realize or remember that. And I'm on your page. I don't take anything unless I absolutely have to. I won't even take a Tylenol unless I have to. And I went to the doctor recently, actually to get a referral for something. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to give you an antibiotic. I think you should have an antibiotic for that. And I just shake my head. I'm like, oh, okay. I never picked up that script. I knew I didn't need it.
Right.
I'm not going to put chemicals in my body unless, to your point, you really need it. Maybe it's an emergency situation, or you truly have an infection that can't be addressed with anything but something stronger, like an antibiotic.
Oh, yeah. Like, for example, urinary tract infection.
Sure.
That can be handled with herbs, but it can quickly travel up into the kidneys, and then that's bad. You don't. That's lifelong. Where it weakens your kidneys, having a kidney infection, and so you. Usually, what I tell people is if their urinary tract infection does not improve within a day or two, they should go get an antibiotic.
Yep. Yeah. So it's not like you're running from them, but you're very diligent in using them. And I've said it for years. You are your best health advocate. Mm-hmm. Just because a doctor went to school, and we much respect there. However, doesn't mean they know everything, and many of them don't know about herbals. What's the difference between a clinical herbalist and a folk herbalist?
Oh, so a clinical herbalist will work in a clinic setting. So, for example, myself and a couple other herbalists at Acupuncture and Herbal Therapies here in St. Petersburg, we practice out of an acupuncture clinic. So I don't do acupuncture. I just work in the space, and it allows me to have access to, like, a countless amount of herbs that I wouldn't be able to have on my own, just with the amount of volume that it takes. And plus, it gives, like, I guess, exposure to other clients. And a folk herbalist is someone that usually works out of their home. They might have a space, they might not. Sometimes the practices of how they make the medicine, but I consider myself a folk herbalist as well as a clinical herbalist, so I'm very, like, regimented with measuring, down to the gram, and, I'll be very diligent, but then I have this other side to me where I'm like, oh, this looks good, and just pour it in the jar when I'm working with my family or myself. But when I'm working with clients, I'm very, careful with each gram, like how much goes in the, full count. And, I really take it seriously. And with my medicine making, I make a few products here and there that I have, at markets and such, and those I'm also very diligent with my measurement, and I want everything to be the same. So I kind of live both lives of, like, frolicking in the woods and, like, this is, let me just pour a little bit and see how that goes, or, I'm, like, with a scale, deciding exactly how many grams I need.
So, essentially you're a genius medicine maker and a hippie at the same time. And I mean that with love.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Pretty much.
So I know that you embrace the power of mushrooms. I want to give you a mushroom blend that somebody sent me that claims that it is somewhat magical in warding off things like cancer or helping you minimize cancer situations. And and that's just one aspect of the benefits of this concoction. And it is everything organic, shiitake, and I'm going to say these words wrong, maitake, cordyceps, reishi, chaga, turkey tail, lion's mane. That blend, what can that do for you?
Well, and so basically most of those mushrooms work on the digestion. So in the digestion, when your digestion is weak, it creates excess dampness in the body. And that over time, when you have stress or you have underlying issues going on, some people, that dampness or phlegm will develop into, like, a tumor. And so what the mushrooms do is they just deal with that dampness and phlegm at the beginning, so it doesn't develop, hopefully, Of course, not everyone, it's not I guess you would say it's not a 100% guarantee that that's what's going to happen. Everyone is different, but mushrooms work on that digestive level. So they have things called polysaccharides that are like incredibly balancing for your digestion. So when your digestion is strong and it's balanced, you don't have all this excess stuff that isn't processed by the digestion.
And when you ingest that, well, but even before I go there, should you take it as a tincture and keep it under your tongue, then swallow it, or the tincture part of it isn't really going to make a difference?
Okay, well, I'll say this about mushrooms and tinctures. Like, I do make tinctures out of mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do alcohol, double extractions where you do like an alcohol extraction and a water extraction, mix them together, and you have a tincture. And that is very valid way of taking your mushrooms because it's convenient. You can put it in your pocket. However, putting it under your tongue versus just popping it in your mouth, there isn't really that big of a difference in effectiveness. However, for thousands of years, people have really just been drinking their mushrooms in tea or soup. And that's my preferred method of taking mushrooms is with a water extraction. Now, some of the mushrooms like lion's mane and what was the other one? Lion's mane, mostly, and reishi mushroom. Those two mushrooms have things called terpenes, and terpenes are really important for the health of the brain and the mind. Well, terpenes are a little bit harder to extract in water, so people use alcohol to extract them. And you could also use, I also use vinegar, or I'll use this other menstruum called glycerin, but alcohol seems to be like the favorite for extracting those terpenes. And so that's why they do that double extraction with the alcohol in addition to being convenient.
You know what?
Which I appreciate.
You just said terpenes, and in my studying in this journey, that's connected to CBD now, isn't it?
It is, and so it's really important for the brain health, nervous system, that sort of thing, and so it provides a lot of support in that area, and so lion's mane is one of the main mushrooms for brain health, right? But when we think about in general with the original topic of cancer, it's that holistic approach, right? Thinking about, we want to work on the digestion because that's setting up the atmosphere in the body. And then these mushrooms contain all these constituents on a whole, not just one part, but all of these constituents work together to bring that balance to the body. And in my opinion, alcohol extractions can work, but the water extractions, I think, are much more absorbable in the body versus that alcohol extraction.
I want to talk about how you can support people. I got a quick question for you. I've gotten into drinking tea, love it. Drink all different types of ginger tea, and I change it up, every once in a while. Then I'm hooked on turmeric. Would that be considered an herbal? And what are your thoughts on taking turmeric?
Oh, it is definitely an herbal. In Ayurvedic, it's a really important herb. Chinese medicine, it's a really important herb. People use that in digestion for digestion that's a little stuck and stagnant and helps things move along. It has important antioxidants, nutrients. In addition, it's it depends on what part of the turmeric that you use, but most of the time it's more of a warming herb. And a lot of people, including my father-in-law, have used it for helping with pain in the joints, particularly the knees. And I can see that for sure. One thing that I was told is a lot of people add black pepper to the turmeric, And that can make it actually a little too bioavailable to the body. So I would do research before actually doing that black pepper and turmeric. It may actually be just a little too much for the body. But yes, turmeric is an amazing herb. I usually, like most of the time when I'm working with turmeric, I'll use it with other herbs too because, it's a pretty powerful herb. So you want to make sure like, oh, this is a warming, moving herb. Do I have enough nourishment in my body for such a powerful herb? And do I need to add, other herbs to support?
Wow. I love it. I love the taste of it. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But, I'll take a dropper bottle and I'll just, put one dropper full in a bottle of water.
That's wonderful. Very cool.
I love it. Just adds a little bit of flavor, but then it's good for you.
Yeah.
Ruthie, tell me how the process works. And if somebody is looking for a more holistic approach to their health, and this resonates, they reach out to you, and where does it begin from there?
So basically, once they reach out, we, set a time that's at least an hour to talk. And I prefer in person at first, but I also do see clients online through Zoom or Google Meet. And we sit down together, and I just ask, like, what is it that you would like to work on? What are your goals? And I try to hone in on one goal, whatever it is. So, like, recently I've been seeing a lot of people with seasonal allergies, so they're trying to get a handle on the phlegm. And because it can be very uncomfortable. So I just get one main goal that they want to work on. Then I go through a typical day of their behaviors. So like what they eat, what they drink, what their activities are. And not like, at first I go to the store and then I go to the bank. Not like that, but like physical activities, like how they exercise or move their body. Then we talk about their sleep habits, their energy throughout the day, and then we get in a little bit more sensitive topics like what does your bowel movement look like? How about your urine? And usually people find that part kind of funny because they're not used to answering those types of questions. And then we talk about their tongue. So I have them stick their tongue out, and I look at their tongue to look for any clues at all that goes with what I think is going on that's preventing them from reaching their goal. So if it's seasonal allergies, I usually look at digestion, right? But or lung health energetically. And so the tongue is really cool because different parts of the tongue go with different parts of the body. So like the tip of the tongue goes with the energetics of the heart. And when I say energetics, I don't mean the physical heart. It just means kind of like, what's the weather in the heart today? That sort of thing. Is it dry? Is it hot? And so it doesn't manifest physically, although sometimes it does. But usually it's just this energetic idea that a lot of people are like, I don't know what that means. But over time, you start to get used to it when you start listening to your body and looking at your tongue and noticing like, oh, wow, actually, I'm a very dry person. My tongue is really dry. My skin is really dry. Wow, so that's an energetic, being dry. So once I nail down like what the person is presenting as with their energetics and what parts of their body need to be nourished and what parts of the body maybe need to be balanced with dampness or phlegm, or maybe there's some excess heat somewhere, then I share with the client, I'm like, okay, this is what I think is going on in your body, and this is how it's affecting your goal that you're trying to achieve. And this is how I think we should go at it, and so I have a wellness plan. So then we talk about nourishment, which is a really big part. Nourishment is huge. So I'll usually give like one suggestion of how they can nourish their body. Then we have lifestyle. Lifestyle is also really important. And so usually I offer like one suggestion, or I'll just say continue what you're doing because you're rocking it.
Wow.
Then we go into herbals, and I'll give them their choices. Like, do you want a tincture that you can carry around because it's super convenient? Or would you like to make tea every day? Or do you want to make your tea every couple of days, and here's how you would do it? And so I'd give them different choices of how they can take their herbs that would be, most convenient for their lifestyle and, what they're going to be most compliant with. Then sometimes I suggest supplements. Sometimes I don't. Just depends on each person. And then we usually find one thing to limit. And by limit, I mean you're drinking 8 icy drinks a day. Maybe we could lower that down to 5. Because ice is kind of hard on the digestion. So, if we're working on that.
All the things you're saying, I've heard recently, right down to you're not supposed to drink ice cold drinks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
It's really big. It's really big. It's a common thing that we get actually, because people don't know.
Wow, you are amazing. What you offer is tried and true, and I've tried it. Fantastic. What you just did there in 2-3 minutes. You would never even get that in a doctor's office, the amount of detail. They walk you in, they walk you out, hope for the best. Here's your script. Go pick it up and pay the copay at the counter. This is proven and fantastic. We just scratched the surface. We're talking about the herbal consultations. You do classes. You have camps down there in Florida. Ruthie, how do we find you?
You can visit my website, Forest, Forest, and spelled out A-N-D, Hearth, this is the funny part, Hearth, LLC.com. And Forest and Hearth, I chose that because Forest being out, that's where the plants are, and Hearth, that's our fire, that's our heart, our home.
Yep.
That's where you can find me.
And that hearth is you and your passion for what you're doing and and your purpose in life. And for that, we thank you. Thank you for all the insight, all the information. Looking forward if we ever get a chance to get together again. But everybody, change your life. Start with a conversation. Forest and Hearth, LLC.com. Thanks again, Ruthie.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.